My name is Emma and I love musicals, Disney and all things cozy. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss out any of my videos, and I hope you enjoy watching. So I went to see The Little Mermaid last weekend at the Odeon and I absolutely loved it. I wanted to make a little video review just to talk about my feelings about the movie. Without further ado, I'm just going to get into the video. Okay, so The Little Mermaid came out in 1989 and was released by Walt Disney Studios, and it's based off the fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, which came out in 1837. The music was written by my two personal heroes in life, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, and sadly Howard passed away in the late 90s. So who was the standout performer in the movie? I'm so happy to report that the standout performer was Halle Bailey, who played Ariel. She did such a fabulous job. We've had many a Disney live action over the years, but I think they've been too focused in the past to make the fictional character and the live action character look identical. That's been more of the focus for a lot of them, rather than, singing ability. And it was just so lovely to see a Disney princess who felt like she really honoured the source material that Jodie Benson gave in her performance of Part of Your World. That's that classical soprano timbre to her voice, which is very, very classic for a Disney princess to have. But she brought something completely new to the character with the choices she was making vocally. These really neat little riffs, and at the end of the song, it already ends on a pretty high note, and she went even higher at the end, and it gave it something new. It lifted it into a new modern space. Perfect balance between paying homage to Jodie Benson and obviously Howard's very and impactful lyric. My favourite lyric from Part of Your World is "Bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand." It's such a powerful lyric, and I feel like she brought a different shade to that. Something else that I really have always enjoyed about the animated movie is the Part of Your World reprise. If I could only be with him, she wants it so bad. They made that almost shot for shot look the same, which was incredible. They made a second reprise where she sings Part of Your World again, but it's with a heartbroken quality, and it was a really nice detail. So let's talk about Prince Eric. I would say that the live action movie definitely have improved his character by a long shot. In the animated classic character, usually the prince take a backseat. It's less about him because he's not the main character. The chemistry between Halle Bailey and Jonah Hauer-King is off the charts, you guys. It's so good. I really want them to be together. I really believed that they actually fancied each other. He fleshed out his character by giving him a backstory and reasons for doing what he was doing. So he is a sailor. This much is clear. Similar to the animated version, only difference is in the animated versions they open with the song Fathom Below. With Fathoms Below comes way later in the movie, which I think worked both ways. Could get a bit of more of a story for why Eric is the way he is. Thought the introduction of Eric's mother was a fabulous addition that was very needed, because the way they explain it is that he was adopted and he was found by Queen Selina and the king. And Queen Selina, she doesn't like Eric being a sailor. And I think that also comes from, she's scared of him probably drowning at sea, and King Triton, Ariel's father, don't want her to interact with humans, and he doesn't want her to, basically leave the water ever. He's very protective, and I think it's very rooted in he doesn't want his little baby to grow up, and he's always also been through some really hard stuff like PTSD with Ariel's mother getting killed by humans. It also gave Ariel and Eric common ground, both having parents that are not sort of ready to let go. Ariel finally has lost her voice and she's on legs, and she's meeting Eric for the first time. She sneaks into his study. You saw all of these little trinkets that Eric has collected throughout his travels. And it's very similar to Ariel's grotto that she has in Part of Your World. Little trinkets that she's, collected from the human world. What I really liked about this Prince Eric is the moment in the film where, they've been on their date and she's wearing Eric's hat from the date. that just kind of goes to show how close they've gotten in that short time. And I thought it was a very powerful symbol, and then just seeing them sneak off and like being a bit naughty. Eric also got a new song in this adaptation, a song called Wild Uncharted Waters. I must be completely honest, I'm quite biased because I'm a big fan of the Little Mermaid Broadway version of Prince Eric's song. If you haven't checked that song out, it's called Her Voice. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I think what is so special about it is how it ties in all of Alan Menken's melodies within the original film. He's not scared of repeating the same themes, because I think that makes a well-rounded musical. Personally, like, you want to be repeated of those themes. And so because I knew that, and because I've heard that song, this new song didn't have the same impact on me that I feel like it should have had. It's not a bad song by any means, and Jonah's performance is absolutely fine. I personally think I would have preferred someone maybe who had like a Broadway background. It has beautiful instrumentals by Alan Menken, and the lyrics are fine. They're full of sort of maritime references, but it feels a bit obvious. It's not, towards the end of it, I didn't feel anything, and I feel like I was supposed to. I don't know if it was the chord changes or just the way that it was structured. Something I did really enjoy about it though was in the beginning when, you know, Halle Bailey's doing the backing vocals, like, you know, the siren song of the woman who you know, ultimately saved his life. It's an okay song, and I feel like it might be a grower. But I don't know, I just didn't feel what I was supposed to feel from it. And so a few details from the movie that I really, really enjoyed as a Disney fan. One of them being that in the end credits of the film, they wrote, in memory of Howard Ashman. That just made me tear up. And like, I might tear up if I think about Howard Ashman too much. One of my personal heroes. There's a documentary on him called Howard on Disney Plus that I highly, highly recommend you check out if you don't know who this man is. Something I really, really thought was such a cute thing. Jodie Benson, who played the original Ariel, is in the scene where Ariel and Prince Eric goes on their little excursion into town, and she's one of the merchants. And I thought that was lovely, and she looked at Halle Bailey, and you could sort of see it was passing the torch kind of thing, where it's okay, like you're Ariel now, like I'm passing it on. Even though she will always be Ariel, like always. I loved it. It was such a geeky little detail, and it's like, if you know, you know. And then if you don't know, it didn't take away anything from the story. I just really enjoyed it. There's a few minor things that I think could have been improved. There is a bit of an elephant in the room, unfortunately, and I don't want to jump on any sort of bandwagon because I've been seeing this going all around social media. I don't want anyone to send Melissa McCarthy or her makeup artist any hate. I'm sorry, but her makeup, like Melissa McCarthy was robbed in this movie because Ursula is actually based off a real life drag queen called Divine. And if you look up pictures of Divine, you'll totally see the resemblance of the animated character and where they've drawn inspiration from the queer community. You know, even before the casting began, I kind of wanted to see a drag queen in the role. I think it would have been a fabulous, fabulous thing for them to do. But they went with Melissa McCarthy in the end, and she was, you know, a good choice. Like, she's a great actress, there's no doubt about it. However, the makeup for me was very, very distracting, and I feel like that's such a superficial thing to say. However, because drag makeup is so different to normal makeup artistry, so I'm not questioning whether or not this makeup artist who did her makeup is a bad makeup artist. That's not what I'm saying, but drag makeup is a different ballgame. You glue the eyebrows down and you paint completely new features. It's like theatrical makeup in a way. It took me out of her performance as well, because you know when drag queens glue their eyebrows down and then they draw new ones on and they make like their eyelid up here. You know, it looks seamless, and it looks like it's part of this character that they're creating. They're creating an illusion, you know, with all the lashes and stuff. What really took me out of it at times is I could see Melissa's eyebrows peeking out from underneath the makeup, and that's not good blocking. Like, you're not supposed to be able to see the eyebrow. Anyway, another thing that I didn't like about Ursula, you know, my favourite line in the whole movie was cut. You know, when Ursula in the animated movie goes, and don't underestimate the importance of body language. It's just like Pat Carroll's performance of that is iconic. It's iconic. And I was like highly anticipating that moment. And then when it didn't come, I was like, this is weird. They've cut so many of the great jokes that Howard put into the song. And I just don't know why. I think they were scared that it would offend people and stuff like that. But Ursula is the villain. She is supposed to have bad morals and bad ideas that she's telling Ariel about. That's the whole point of her being the villain. And I feel like for a really long time now, Disney hasn't really written a good villain, if I'm honest. And I kind of wanted them to go back to her roots and really make her a baddie. And I was missing that at parts, to be honest. I thought Melissa did an okay job at portraying the song, but to me, you know, Pat Carroll is an iconic voice actress. You know, she's a contralto, which is a really rare voice type, where she almost leans into male register, and it really lends itself to, you know, her being inspired by a drag queen, and she gives so much shade and so much diversity to the lyrics, and you really feel her sassiness and her sort of like, I don't care attitude, but also she just gives her a lot of character. Yeah, so Melissa did an okay job, and I feel like it was almost like a bit of an impersonation of Pat. She just sounded a bit like she was just singing it and she wasn't acting it. And, you know, she's not famous for being a singer, and I completely get that, you know. It wasn't a bad moment of the film at all. I just expected a little bit more of it. And I think when they cut those jokes, it kind of lowered the bar a little bit for me, personally. So Jessica Alexander, for me, was a great standout performance. She was in the movie, you know, this short of a time. It's Ursula disguised as this beautiful woman, Vanessa, who has tricked Prince Eric into marrying him. She did such a great job portraying this character. I was scared of her at points. Her acting was so good. She used that little screen time and she brought everything to the character. Actually, quite a good thing that they changed from the animation to the movie also is the fact that, you know, in the film, it's Prince Eric and Vanessa's wedding. I think it was a good idea to make it an engagement party instead, because it's more modernized. It's kind of, people don't believe in that idea of we marry as soon as we see each other thing anymore. I don't think modern audiences buy into that anymore, and I think it's been very overdone. And back to something that, again, I'm a bit on the fence whether I like it or dislike it. It's actually grown on me quite a bit, but there's a new song called Scuttlebutt, which is written for Scuttle, the seagull in the movie, and Sebastian has a little rap in it. And, you know, when I watched it in the cinema, I thought it was a fun little number, and I was having a little dance and stuff, and it is an earworm. I have sung Scuttlebutt at least 6 times since making this video. I think overall, it felt a bit out of place in the movie. I can definitely hear that Lin-Manuel Miranda has written this song. It sounds like In the Heights. I Had a Baby with Hamilton. It's kind of like, and Moana all in one. I can hear all of his influences from his own work. And I think, if I'm completely honest, I have so much respect for Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he really just attached himself a little bit too much into the project instead of just honouring the source material a little bit more. Like, I think not every musical needs to have this kind of rappy thing going on. And I know they want to modernise it, but it just, you know, for me, it was okay, but it didn't bring anything to the story. It's definitely not meant for me, you know, people my age group. Like, I can totally see this being a really fun thing for a little kid in the cinema, like sitting there and going like, Mommy, the seagull is really funny. That song was written for a child. I'm just being very nitpicky. Tonally, it didn't feel like it fitted with the rest of the film for me. I've been through pretty much all the new songs at this point. A song that I have not mentioned yet, though, is For the First Time. So For the First Time is a song about Ariel having her legs for the first time, getting to be a human, which has been her biggest wish her whole life. And the song is her internal dialogue, how it feels to stand on 2 feet, questioning people in town when she sees fish hanging on the wall. And the instrumentation is brilliant because they've gone for this Jamaican island vibe. And it's so playful and light, but it also, you can just hear her panic in her voice as she's, you know, contemplating what this means, but to not be a mermaid anymore, but to actually be a human being. And it was, you know, by far the best new thing that they added, in my opinion. Like all the other songs, you know and love, but this for me was the standout song that I think really modernized it and made it a great, great addition. There was quite a lot, and some of it I have already covered. One of the main differences that they promoted heavily on social media as well is they changed Ariel's sisters. So not only do they have all of these new ethnicities, they have completely new names and they're completely different characters from the movie. And I think it's a change that they get away with because in the animated movie they didn't really have that much of a character arc or lines. But you do lose Triton's daughters, which was a song in the original film where, you know, Ariel's missing from the concert. This movie, they were just having an annual meeting with King Triton. I didn't really completely understand what that was. They didn't really give context to explain what that was all about, but you don't lose that much as a viewer. And it was really exciting to see these different ethnicities, and clever that they base them off all the different oceans around the world. My little Bridgerton fangirl heart really loved to see Simone Ashley as one of the mermaids because I absolutely love her. I do think, as much as the sisters were not a big part of the animated feature either, you know, they didn't do much with them. They were just there and they had a couple of lines and then they left, and they had an opportunity to give them just a tiny little bit more. Something else that changed from the animated movie is that Ursula is now King Triton's sister. You know, it didn't ruin anything for me, but I didn't think it didn't add anything to the story. Maybe they did it to give more depth to King Triton and Ursula's relationship. Another thing they added, which Ursula cast her spell, you know, on Ariel to take her voice, she basically also put like this curse or spell on her, so she can't remember that she needs to kiss Prince Eric, which is the whole point of the movie. She wants to stay human. She has to kiss Prince Eric within 3 days. But then she takes her memory, so she knows she's a human, but she's like, she doesn't remember that she needs to kiss him. They did cut out as well one of my favorite songs from the movie, le poisson, la la la, le poisson. You know, the chef who tries to kill Sebastian. That is one of, I think it's a fun thing, and they could have made that so campy, and I was a bit sad to not see it in. I understand that they needed to make room for some new songs, and it's not a terrible loss, but all the same, I just wanted to mention that that's different. So I would give this maybe 7/7.5 star rating, because I think all the nostalgic elements did work, well, most of them anyway, but for me, yeah, Poor Unfortunate Souls dragged it down a little bit. And then the newer songs, some of them, you know, were great. The others were kind of okay, but not groundbreaking. But for the first time, really made sense, and it was definitely the standout new song that I think everyone should go and listen to. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it overall, though, and I honestly think this is the best live-action musical that Disney has made, and I would recommend you to go and see it. Thank you so much for watching my video today. Give it a massive thumbs up if you want to support my channel. If you like musical theatre, if you like Disney, if you like cozy things, you know, we can scuttlebutt, scuttlebutt, scuttlebutty with scuttlebutt. I tell you, I'm going to sing that song for weeks now. All right.